let's talk about gay hockey romance.
What? All right, yes, let's talk about it.
And you're going to find out very quickly why I want to talk so badly about gay hockey romance, and it's not the reason you might think. Are you familiar with Heated Rivals, which is on HBO Max right now?
Heated Rival, I am not.
It's originally...
I don't know that I'm familiar with anything on HBO Max right now, to be fair.
Well, wait till you hear about this. You might be running to get a subscription. HBO Max picked up a Canadian TV series. It was a limited series from Crave called Heated Rivals. And it's getting a big splash right now because a lot of the love scenes are quite explicit, shall we say. And it's a very, very steamy TV show, which for a male-on-male gay romance is somewhat new. We've seen that with obviously heterosexual. We've seen it with the L word, but we haven't seen a whole lot of that content for a gay romance. And not only is the story really, really good, but the scenes obviously are getting a lot of people, it's just absolutely riveted to their TVs.
Right.
Here's why I want to talk about it. It was a series of books by Rachel Reed, who was published by a imprint of Harlequin romance that specializes in LGBTQ. Right now, Rachel Reed should be a New York Times bestseller. Should be, absolutely, because this is...
If the cross-selling is happening, yes, yeah.
Huge splash. It's all over TikTok. People are running to their booksellers. They're running to Amazon. And Harlequin was caught flat-footed, even though they knew that...
Even though they licensed it?
They licensed it.
How dumb is this company?
They knew that it was big in Canada. They knew that HBO Max had optioned it. They knew that this book had amazing numbers already in ebooks and so on and so forth. They had printed a limited run, but when this thing hit HBO Max, any idiot could have told you that people were going to want to read not only the book, but the series of books, Dave Kellett, that this was based upon. Harlequin dropped the ball. They fumbled the bag. There are no books printed. And if you go on Amazon, they're backlisted for I don't know. I don't even know if they got plans to print this thing.
Oh my God! Is it wrong to be mad on the author's behalf at what a half-ass publisher this is?
No, it's exactly right to have that reaction. It's the reason we do this show week in and week out because. By God.
They've had success kick them in the ass and they still can't get moving. What the hell?
There's no... Listen, you and I both have made mistakes along the way doing self-publishing.
Oh my God, I fear the day we make this kind of mistake though, Brad. This is a multi-million-dollar mistake.
It's one thing for you to make a mistake. It's another thing to be completely helpless as your publisher. You remember the publisher, Dave. You remember the publisher.
Surely they know better than we do, Brad.
Big chunk of what you earned as a creator because they know how to do business.
Brad, they've got the marketing team. They've got the sales team. They've got the printing team. They've got the editorial team. Surely they know better, Brad. Meanwhile, thumbs squarely inserted as they don't do anything. Geez Louise.
This is why we're independents, because I'm telling you, if I was this Rachel Reed, you'd have to be talking me off of a ledge somewhere. Reed. Because it's one thing for when you screw up, but when you are held captive by the incompetence of others, who are taking a big chunk of your sales to justify their incompetence, I would be unable to be solaced.
Oh, yeah, and rightly so. So I have a couple of questions coming out of this. One is, granted, I do not walk in the romance world, and you do. But let me ask you this. I genuinely thought that Harlequin Romance was 1950s publishing. Are they still active and big? And
I'm not. Listen, I'm not super familiar with them. And this is obviously like an LGBTQ imprint of
like a
Harlequin.
Subset of Harlequin. Yeah. Okay.
But Harlequin is still out there somewhere. Screwing people's lives up left and right. But yeah, they're still out there.
I mean, let's be charitable about this.
Yeah.
Let's say, because you and I have talked to and know people that work in publishing.
Yeah.
Let's say that this subset imprint of Harlequin that focuses on LGBTQ publishing, and is probably doing a great job. Let's assume they're doing a great job. They're doing their best. They're getting great books out there. But I'm going to assume that they are underfunded and understaffed.
Yeah.
Just given publishing in general right now, that everybody's understaffed and underfunded, and they're probably doing their best. Yeah. But even if we're being super charitable about them being good people and doing the right thing, wouldn't somebody on the editorial staff say, hey, we should at least do another run of, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000? We are getting a TV show after all. That's a whole different level of marketing. And what happened there? Like, how does that not happen? Like, you've licensed the show. It's in production. Right. By the way, it's not like it's an overnight thing. You have 6 to 12 months from the time that scripts are being written. I know because of my wife's career how much timeline you have. Yeah. You have the time as a publisher to get the, oh God, this is making me angry the more I think about it.
Right? It's absolutely devastating. Just from the standpoint of a fellow creator, it's devastating to watch this happen, because this doesn't happen twice. I mean, even if they do a second season of this TV show, which I'm told they've got enough content easily to do that, even if they do a second season, it's not the same as that lightning in a bottle moment that happened this month.
Right. Okay, so the second thing I wanted to bring up in response to this is that prior to you saying this 20 seconds ago, I had never heard of Heated Rivalry before. But the fact that Heated Rivalry and Check Please both exist, is there like some subgenre that I was not familiar with? It's like gay hockey romance. That's where there's 49 books in that subcategory, and Dave Kellett just didn't know about it. Like, was I just naive to this? Is that a whole going thing, or like
those are the only two that I'm familiar with. But I think the whole sports and romance thing is kind of
manga has really made that a whole thing.
Yes, because obviously there's that built-in conflict. That Heated Rivalry is a great story. It starts with these two guys meeting. They're instantly attracted to each other. And then it's like a draft pick thing. One of them is drafted to play on one team. The other one is drafted to play on another team.
Oh, that's nice. It's a Capulet and
Heated and then they are heated rivals, right? And they got to play against each other. Not only are they gay hockey players, so it's very difficult for them to come out in the culture that exists. Right. But they're supposed to be, at each other's throats as competitive sports people. It's a very well done narrative.
I never thought about it until now, and this just shows how little I think about romance, but sports are very romance adjacent in the fact that everybody's in shape, everybody's sweating. You know how that old line that dance is a vertical expression of a horizontal desire?
Yeah.
Sports are kind of an active vertical expression of a horizontal desire in a way. Is what I'm getting at there. But I never put that together. Anyway, Brad, I'm heartbroken for this on this creator's behalf. This is terrible.
I know. It's been on ever since my wife brought it up to me. It has been on my mind. I can't stop thinking about this writer who is absolutely despondent, I'm sure.
So, gang, this is reason number 4,092 in Brad and Dave's reasons why not to go with a publisher, even in success.
Yes.
They will shit the bed, and you will be forced to have to watch it as they don't print the books as your title takes off in the public's eye. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to say hello, everybody, and welcome to Comic Lab, the show where we advocate making your own comics.
And making a living from comics. I'm Brad Guigar, the author of the Webcomics Handbook and the creator of Evil Inc.
And I'm his pal Dave Kellett, cartoonist of Drive and Sheldon and co-director of Stripped.
And this week's hour of comics advice is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So Dave, let's talk comics.
Let's talk comics, my friend. And a reminder to those folks listening, maybe not aware of the calendar, that a new year has dawned, my friend.
That's right. It is on this day, according to our notes, this show should be going public on January 1st, which means It's New Year's Day. Some of you are listening with the volume maybe turned down a little bit because you had a little bit of fun last night ringing in the new year. But it's a new year.
But Brad, 9 years. This is our 9th year of Comic Lab, Brad. And I genuinely cannot believe that 9 years have passed.
Yes.
If you ask me if we closed our eyes, Brad, because you know how some people are like, hey, how old do you feel? Not how old is your calendar date? And everybody always seems to say like 33, no matter how old they are.
Yeah.
If you ask me how many years we've been doing this, 4, 5, maybe, I don't know, 9 though? We've been doing it 9 years?
It's really kind of amazing. I think we talked about it earlier and I had my math off, but then like the next day I'm like, that didn't sound right. And I counted and we just completed our 8th year of Comic Lab, and 2026 is the beginning of our 9th year with a show every week and a pro tips every week. We had celebrated 400 episodes of both of those in 2025. And it's just, I got to tell you, it's such a high point of my week every week. I really look forward to doing this.
God, I look forward to doing it. I love talking comics with you. And I genuinely, on Brad and my behalf, I want to thank everybody that takes the time and effort to join us over at patreon.com/Comic Lab, because honestly, you make it possible for us to keep doing this show. It is with your support and friendship and community and joy, like the Discord servers, the comments under the Patreon posts. It is a damn delight to interact with all the friends over at patreon.com/Comic Lab. So thank you in our 9th year for jumping in and supporting the show you love and getting a lot of value out of it. So thank you, friends. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you, Brad, for year number 9, my friend.
I'm looking forward to it. We've got great things in store for the new year. And that's kind of the theme for today's show is we're going to share our predictions for the new year and our goals for the new year. But before we do that, let's just take a quick moment to remind people that today is January 1st. And that means that the Comicraft annual sale is going on now, where all of their fonts are each priced at $20.26. This is a fantastic time to load up on digital fonts for comic making, and you're going to hate yourself if you miss it. So head over there to Comicraft and load up on some fonts.
Amen to that. And we will talk about it mid-show, but I will give a shout out early on in the show to Huion, our sponsor for today's show. Yeah. If you're one of the Patreon backers, you're getting this show before the turn of the new year. Yeah. And jump in on those savings that they put up, and definitely use the Comic Lab word at checkout to get a little extra discount there. Yeah. But head over to comiclabshop.com or use the special links that Brad has put in the show notes. We'll talk about it mid-show. But Brad, you have 6 predictions and 6 goals for this year.
I do.
I've got 5 and 5. So why don't you lead us off, my friend? What is your first prediction for 2026?
This one's been on my mind a lot because I started doing a little bit of like digging for factual statistics on this topic. Because it was just something that came across my transom one day, and I was like, I wonder what the numbers was. So according to what I was able to find, okay, more than 1/3, and it says more than 1/3, it's 38%. So I would say almost 40% of the 8,891 United States newspapers that existed 20 years ago, back when, when we were starting this whole thing.
Yep.
The newspapers that existed 20 years ago, almost 40% of those have closed. They've gone out of business.
40%? All right, yes. Keep going. Yeah, geez. Wow.
136 have closed over the past 14 months.
Whew.
We're officially in the zone where even established syndicated cartoonists are going to start to face hardships because there's no one to buy the work of the syndicated cartoonists. Publishing deals similar to the Gannett 34, if you remember that, will continue the downward trend faced by many of these folks. Yeah. The ones who can pivot, and I'm thinking specifically here of Andrews McMeel cartoonists whose work trends towards middle grade graphic novels, I think they have a chance to survive. The rest are going to need to adapt to the publishing landscape that changed 25 years ago. And I think 2026 is the year that we start to really hear people talking about this, announcing that they can't continue their syndicated comic because they're kind of in the middle of the pack and they don't have enough to continue. And the pressures of holding a day job and being a syndicated cartoonist are too much. I think my prediction is this is the year where that becomes a much bigger story than it has been in previous years.
What a great prediction. And it's one that we've long been talking about, but we haven't talked about it in a couple of years. And honestly, longtime listeners of the show will know that my longstanding prediction on this trend is that the slow diminishment of vision in the boomer generation and then their eventual death as we start to get into the years where boomers start to die off, that is the one thing keeping newspapers alive is continuing boomer subscriptions. And as that generation sadly goes, the final death knell of newspapers will happen. And I think it's going to happen quite suddenly, Brad, over the next couple of years. Because we're at the point there in terms of death charts where those generations will start to go quickly. It's shitty to say, but it's the truth of it. So I 100% agree with Brad's prediction. Not a happy one, but forewarned is forearmed for a lot of our friends in syndication, is that you have to start thinking about a transitionary project or a way to, as Brad said, cycle over to YA publishing or to something that's web-based that you can own and control and not involve a syndicate in, and not involve a publisher that when you're optioned on HBO Max will not print a book for you. Sorry, I'm still angry about it. Still salty, Brad.
It's part of the reason that I use that for our cold open, because this is a theme here. Like, the thing that you've got to ask yourself is your syndicate prepared to take on that challenge? And I give Andrews McMeel props because they've done, at least for a segment of their cartoonists, they've done a very good job of that. Right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, as much as they can, I actually give Andrews McMeel credit is that they've been trying to option as many shows for TV as possible. They've been trying to transition as many of their authors over to YA graphic novels as possible. They've been putting together packages for newspapers to buy in bulk in a way that other syndicates might not be able to do. So, I give them a lot of credit for trying to manage what's kind of an impossible situation for an old business.
So it is something that I think, again, if you're a comics fan, it's something to keep your eye on. If you're one of those folks that have signed contracts with a syndicate, it's something that you've got to really take a close look at. Because again, when it says 38% of these newspapers closed, the numbers don't show how many of those newspapers have curtailed or stopped entirely their print edition, right? And gone online only, for example. And if your newspaper goes online only, the chances of them paying what they paid to publish it in print or pay for it at all has gone right out the window, in my opinion. It's something that, as those newspapers throttle back on what they're printing or stopping it entirely, that also is going to have a big effect on syndicated comics.
Right. Well, I will jump. We got a long show, so I'm going to jump into my first prediction for this year. And this one's sort of nebulous, but it's intentionally so. So kind of like last year, I feel like I have less predictions than normal, Brad, and that I'm kind of standing on less solid ground for the predictions that I am going to make this year. So prediction number one from me is it's going to be another year of us navigating as best we can. And that's the sort of all caps lettering, as best we can. Right. I do feel slightly more confident than last year. But I honestly kind of feel like this coming year might be a recessionary year in the U.S. And I hate to put that out. You know, they always call the economic forecasting the dismal science, which is such a great phrase. I love that, the dismal science. And no one is good at economic forecasting, but I feel like I'm standing on pretty solid ground thinking that it's going to be a recessionary year. And so my first prediction, Brad, is going to be another year of us surviving more than thriving. That's my first prediction. It's not a particularly happy one, but I feel like for any angle of cartooning you want to point to, whether it's Marvel and DC, whether it's editorial cartooning, whether it's syndicated cartooning, whether it's webcomics, whether it's YA novels, it's mostly going to be a year of surviving rather than thriving. I hope I am wrong, friends. I hope I am wrong, but that's my prediction for this year.
You probably saw me tapping away on my phone as you were talking because it made me think of something else, what you just said. By the way, I think that's a 100% accurate prediction. But I wanted to check one simple fact. The newsprint that newspapers import to print their papers,
From
is
Canada,
that affected
probably? Yeah.
by tariffs?
Oh, I don't know.
Just a little bit of surface level searching that I've found here says that indeed it was, and has already caused spikes in the cost of printing newspapers. So what you said, again, not to belabor the point, but it just made me think, wait a minute, how does that factor into what we're talking about? It's going to make everything a lot worse too. These tariffs are really going to hurt everybody, including newspapers. And again, it's going to be another year of just trying to navigate all of this, because things are changing every day. There's a lot of very, very large, broad, sweeping changes.
Yes.
And those changes are going to affect every darn one of us doing these things that we've always kind of taken for granted, not only as citizens, but particularly as business people.
Yeah. And remember, Brad and I, just to put this in context of what a successful career is, we always say that just surviving another year is success.
Yes.
That is the nature of saying you get to be a cartoonist and you get to do it for another year. So would we love an Eisner or a Rubin or a Hugo? Of course, Brad and I would. Of course we would. But the greatest award that we can get is I'm still cartooning on January 1st, 2027. That's the honest to God. I'm not even kidding. That is the greatest award. I want to be able to go to my grave being like, I did a whole career in good years and in bad years. So being able to survive a survivable year, that's not nothing, pals. So that's my prediction and my goal for 2026 is to survive. Brad, what is your second prediction for this year?
Here's something that I'm really working on. And it's something that's going to be guiding a lot of my thoughts. In fact, I think our next couple of pro tips are going to be focused on a lot of this. I think 2026 is going to see a lot of us, for reasons that are all out there just circling, waiting to land. A lot of us are going to, if we haven't already initiated this, we're going to start to veer off towards it. And what I'm talking about is, as audience behavior shifts from I read this strip to I follow this person, we are going to start to really, really present ourselves as creators and not necessarily put the comic first, but to put the creator first. In other words, you won't be necessarily a Drive fan. You'll be a fan of Dave Kellett, who does Drive.
Interesting. What? Okay, now this I both agree and disagree with this. So I'm not coming at you. But tell me more about. Expand on this. Why do you think that's the case?
One of the things that have me kind of really watching this very closely is how we've seen newsletters take off.
True.
Newsletters, particularly on Substack. The newsletters, that whole cultural identity of I'm a newsletter subscriber.
Right.
Most, if not all of that, is following the person rather than the comic. Obviously, there's plenty of people out there who are presenting their stuff as a thing first and a creator second. But as part of what's got me moving towards this way of thinking is what I've seen happen in newsletters for the last 2 years. Part of it is also things that have been going on for quite a while, like Patreon itself and Discord servers, stuff like that, where it's much more like if you go to my Discord server, I might be talking about Evil Inc. I might be talking about After Dark. I might be talking about Courting Disaster. It's much more of a conglomeration of Brad Guigar fandom than it is, for example, one Discord for Evil Inc., a separate Discord for Evil Inc. After Dark, another Discord for Courting Disaster, and so on and so forth. I think we're going to start to see the creators put themselves out front of the creation a lot more in 2026 because it matches a lot more closely how we're delivering our content, whether that's in a free membership tier on Patreon, a Substack newsletter, so on and so forth. I think you're going to start to see creators put themselves out front.
Okay, I can't find huge legs to stand on in terms of disagreeing with it. I think it's just like, do you think for you personally, when someone comes to Brad Guigar, do they come as a Brad Guigar fan or do they come as an Evil Inc. fan currently?
I think they might come in as an Evil Inc. fan. And then when they discover Brad Guigar, they say, oh gosh, he does Courting Disaster. That's kind of cool too. Or
right.
They come in, and I can guarantee you, people come in as Evil Inc. fans and become Evil Inc. After Dark fans. And
That's
then
true.
they're exposed to the Brad Guigar universe, if you will.
The Guigarverse?
Yes, the Guigarverse.
Or the Bradiverse? What are we going to call this? Oh my gosh.
I like Guigarverse. It's got a little bouncy kind of syllables.
Sure.
But like, this is something we talked about on the show not too long ago. And we were talking about free membership newsletters and Substack and so forth. And you asked me on the show if I would continue to make commenting to a newsletter or a free member post, whether I would make that anybody can do it or you've got to be a subscriber to do it. And you caught me a little bit off guard. I was like, well, right now I do it this way, but I don't know, I might rethink it. And when I had some time to think, I realized I really am sticking towards, if you want to interact with me, you've got to be at some point along on this journey financially, right?
Right.
That's part of the perk of membership, is getting me to, I'm much more likely to talk to you. I might respond to a post on Blue Sky, but the difference there is I'm posting tons of stuff for free there. I may not talk to you, right? I may not. Chances are, if you say something nice, I'm obviously going to say something nice back. But in terms of getting into longer, deeper conversations, every now and again, people want to engage me in, well, what do you think we should do about this, that, and the next on, for webcomics? I direct that to the Discord server for one reason only. You got to pay to get my answer there, right? I think that's going to continue.
So, Brad, much like the Spice Girls, that if you want to be Brad's lover, you got to get with Brad's friends.
Yes.
In this case, if you want Brad to talk to you, you got to pay up, gang.
You got to pay up. You got to pay.
Up.
And you know what? I know how that sounds. I stand by it 110%. I think more of us got to start doing that.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's true. Okay. Well, in the interest of keeping the show moving, I'm going to jump into my third prediction. And Brad, I'm actually going to call an audible on my predictions because I emailed Brad my predictions before the show. And the third one was going to be the second one was going to be about YA graphic novels and their continuing success. Kind of boring humdrum. We all know that that's going to be a continuing successful thing. Yeah. So the audible I'm going to call, Brad, is I want to talk about Australia's social media law that's going into effect and how I think that is a harbinger for a sea change in all Western democracies writ large and how they're going to start viewing social media, especially for youth. And so here's my prediction for 2026. I think the law is going to go into effect in Australia. I think there will be road bumps along the way. How do you say road bumps? Why am I saying that wrong?
Road bumps.
road blocks. There'll be hiccups along the way, of course, in its implementation. But I think largely it's going to work because the negation of social media in kids' life can only be a benefit. They'll talk to each other more in real life. They'll read more books. They'll do more sports. What I'm saying is there's no net downside to society in trying it. And so I think, therefore, it will work in Australia. And I think what will happen, Brad, in the years ahead in 2027 and beyond is I think more and more Western democracies will start to adopt this policy. That's my prediction because I view it not as a financial thing, not as a cultural thing. I see it more as a modern day temperance movement. And don't view this as though the temperance movement, which failed because society. What I'm getting at there is not in whether it was a success or a failure, because temperance movements failed, right? People brought back alcohol, but what a temperance movement was it was a moral issue, not a financial issue, not a cultural issue. It was a moral issue, and I think more and more societies are realizing that social media for youth is a moral issue in that it's really having a detrimental effect on the well-being of children. And so that's my prediction for 2026, Brad, is I think the Australian law is going to work, and I think the EU is going to look at it, and I think Malaysia is going to look at it, and I think 4 or 5 years down the line, the US will look at it.
Wow. Well, let me start here. I think I 100% agree with you in that limiting social media from people under 16 would be an absolute boon, and it would be nothing but good. And I co-sign everything you said.
But
I'm a little, yep, here's my but. You are much more confident in Australia's ability to enforce this law than I am. In other words, I think it's an unenforceable law for the most part. I think people who are under 16 are going to find ways around this. It's going to be really difficult.
I agree with that.
The first time, the whole deal with the law is like if Twitter signs a new member up today who's under 16, Australian law can go after them. I don't know how they actually go about doing that. I don't know how they enforce any of it. I think it's I think it's a lot of bluster. I don't think anything is actually going to come of it. And as that kind of crumbles under its own weight, I think it's going to fizzle there. Not because it's not a good idea, just because I don't see how they're going to enforce any of it.
Well, I don't disagree. I think it's technologically, it's going to be tricky to enforce. So there's 400,000 kids in Australia under 16 on social media. And I think when the law gets implemented, even with workarounds and kids cheating the system, and they will, you'll immediately take 200,000 off social media just by virtue of like, they're good kids, they're in a good family, people are going to be watching out and enforcing it. But you'll have 200,000 kids who are like a young Dave Kellett or young Brad Geiger will figure a workaround and still be on TikTok or this or that, right?
When nobody's looking.
Yeah, when nobody's looking. And but I think it will still have a net benefit to society in Australia, and they'll keep the law and they'll work out how to technologically implement the law in better and better ways. Like I think the first 6 months will be the messiest. No argument about that, you know?
I think there's parts of me that hope you're wrong about your prediction. Like, even though I think it's because, let's stop and think just for a second. The only way to implement this rule is to have you sign up for a social media account with some kind of proof of your identity. A driver's license, a passport, a social security number, etc.
Yeah.
That automatically, number one, opens the door for tons of identity fraud to happen when inevitably these servers are not being protected correctly. It also ends up with some real troubles. Again, since I travel in the NSFW circles, let's say you're somebody who's doing that. These people live in fear of a nut job finding out who they are and where they live already. And we've seen this when Patreon had to follow government rules here in the United States about uploading, very well thought out, very well-meaning rules about, proving that you are who you are and you're old enough to be doing this. A lot of people who were in the NSFW sphere who live in fear of somebody showing up outside their window, reacted very viscerally to that. And I think it's worth taking time to realize that. I think it would be actually the first step in some pretty tricky landscape if this were to go further, in terms of just not only for those people, those people among us who are our friends, but also for you and me who just don't want our identity stolen. And it's one more way that you're going to put your driver's license out there. And these guys, they all tell you how much they're really, really tough on protecting their servers. And at the end of the day, they're a corporation. I'm going to do it again, Dave. I'm going to get in here towards the podcast. They're a corporation like anyone else. And if they can save a nickel on those servers, but with sloppy safeguards, they will, because that's what they do. They're there for a profit. So that's why I'm worried about this. Is that a valid fear, do you think?
That's totally valid. And I will say, in level-headed friendship, you're 100% right. Like, every democracy should be afraid of an overhanded government coming in and being like declaring that you need to show an ID for every online thing.
Yeah.
And because then you move towards the Chinese system of self-identification. But I'm just saying that I think that this is a path that a lot of democracies are going to move towards. And I think Australia at the end of 12 months will have found that it worked more than it didn't work, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like
Interesting.
There will be more mistakes. There will be mistakes. It'll be messy. It'll be poorly implemented at first.
Yeah.
But I think largely Australia will find that it worked more than it didn't work. And I think it will spread to other democracies. So that's my second prediction, Brad.
I love it.
What's your next one?
It's my first of two predictions that are not endorsements. So I got to say that right up top. In other words, I'm saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying that it's necessarily a good thing.
He's not saying he likes it, friends. I'm going to say it for him. It's not a pro Geiger response here. This is not in the Geigerverse.
But it absolutely is going to happen. And that means, of course, first off, we're going to talk about Substack. They're going to put that whole thing about the Nazi recommendation behind them. It's already hardly a blip on the radar. As you know, no one on social media has a memory that goes longer than 3 weeks. It's been way longer than 3 weeks. There's some people who are still very upset about it, and with good reasons. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be. What I am saying is that they are also, they built, and you've heard me say it on the show before, one of the most powerful platforms that delivers things that creators need badly, like discovery and monetization. And you're going to see Substack pulling out of this thing. They already have more registered monthly users than Patreon, and they've only been around for part of the time. Patreon's been around longer. They're going to pull out of that whole thing. It was something that was very, very had our attention, very important for a little while in 2025. By the time 2026 comes around and is done, it's going to be a faded memory for most people.
Agreed. I think that I can only co-sign this because huge wattage journalists, Brad, that I know that are like New York Times, Washington Post, The Atlantic, The Economist, journalists that could conceivably work wherever they wanted in journalism. They're all choosing Substack. And so the writing is on the wall in terms of what's working. And I agree with Brad that it should be a deeper memory for society writ large that they had this massive thing and that they're having a problem with bad actors on their platform. And yet, because they're performing so well for writers, musicians, artists, cartoonists, creators, I think it's going to be swept under the rug and it's going to keep succeeding. So I can only agree with Brad Geiger that Substack is going to grow in 2026.
So what's your next prediction for 2026?
So I'm going to change tacks a little bit. And this is kind of a neither here nor there for the wider world, but for cartoonists is of interest. I think that in 2026, the National Cartoonist Society group will continue to grow its membership. And I want to clarify what I mean by that. It will continue to become a less hoity-toity group like it used to be, Brad, a millionaires drinking group in terms of like, if you lived in New Jersey and New York and it was 1965 and you were a white male cartoonist, you joined the NCS and you went golfing and then you went drinking and then you went golfing and then you went drinking. I think we are in what's only good news, a wonderful transitionary period for the NCS. I think it will appeal to more cartoonists working in more branches and fields of cartooning, whether it's editorial, syndication, webcomics, YA graphic novels, comic books. You'll get more and more and wider dispersion of cartoonists, and you'll get more workaday. What's the word? That I'm looking for here, right?
That you brought onto the show a long time ago was pro-am. In other words, you had professionals, you had pro-am, and you had amateurs. And I think it's going to go from that professional group to more of a pro-am group. And also probably we're going to see a lot more amateur cartoonists that are joining.
Yeah, perhaps, yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, I think it's actually good for the NCS long term. And I think my hope and my expectation for 2026, 2027, 2028 is that the NCS will become more of a location to share best practices. What's working? Because it's kind of what we always, as younger web cartoonists, what we always wanted the NCS to be is like, hey, gang, I'm going to do a 50-minute talk. Here's what's working for me. Take from it what you will, implement what you will, but here's what, and then somebody else gets up at the podium. Hey, 50 minutes of what's working for me, 50 minutes of what's working for them. And then that's what I see for the NCS's future, is that a bigger, broader membership that shares best practices and continues to succeed in that regard. So that's one of my third prediction, Brad, for 2026. What is your next prediction, my friend?
I was thinking about Webtoons while I was doing my predictions this past couple of weeks. And I've got it written down here that the Webtoon bubble bursts. I don't know that there is a Webtoon bubble, but it's the best way that I've got to kind of put my thoughts together. In other words, here's the thoughts as I wrote them down. It's going to be even harder, and it was never easy, but it's going to be even harder for non-romance, non-YA, non-manga adjacent work to break big on Webtoon and similar platforms. I think this is happening on Tapas as well, unless it's especially tailored to their house style, vertical, bingeable, soap opera heavy, etc. And I think we're going to see, we've seen Webtoons try to release some of their top properties as either animated series or things like that. Try to do the similar things that Rachel Reed's Heated Rivals did on HBO Max recently. And we haven't seen a whole lot of success from those.
No.
And every time, like on Reddit and other places where somebody who is being paid for working and doing a comic at Webtoon, when they start to talk about what's expected of them, panel counts and the amount of content they're expected to continually produce and what the editor's expectations are, it is absolutely untenable. I think at some point, people are going to just say, I can't do this for the peanuts that they're offering me.
Right.
So I think this is going to be, we've seen Webtoons as a real powerhouse over the past several years. I think this is when we start to see Webtoons start to recede a little bit. And God willing, it'd be great to see something take its place. But I think right now, if you talk to anybody in their 20s and you say, hey, if you're going to be a professional cartoonist, what's the first thing that you do? Most people in their 20s are going to say, well, geez, the first thing I got to do is create a Webtoons account, right? Yeah. So I can post my stuff on Webtoons.
Yep.
I think this is the first year that we're going to start to see that whole thing shift a little bit. And for obvious reasons, it just can't continue this way.
Yeah, this was also, it's funny because some predictions that Brad and I make, they take 2 or 3 years to actually play out. If you remember my 2025 predictions, I had a very similar one for Webtoons, which was that it was going to implode. And the reason being is that the basic business model of Webtoons from Korea was get your fingers into the options for a web comic that runs on Webtoons, and then take it to Korean television, Korean film, Korean video games, all of which have huge established markets, and make the real money there. They brought that to the U.S., unfortunately, at a time where Hollywood is imploding in a way that no one has seen in generations. Like Hollywood is going through a huge contraction and is going to keep contracting for the next couple of years until there's more consolidation. But anyway, so Webtoons basically timed this really poorly. And so nobody's buying anything for TV right now. And if they are, it's not getting made. Yeah. And so Webtoons, their whole play was, we're going to get our fingers into your webcomic and then try to sell it on to TV, to film, and to video games. And it's not working. And so, like Brad, I agree. At some point, the piper's going to come due in terms of having to be paid. And it really is a question of how much the parent company out of Korea is willing to finance this and how long they're willing to go. Because there's only so many years of losses that you can sustain as a company before somebody in the executive suite goes, all right, we got to pull the plug. Yeah. So, like Brad, I am anticipating, if not a full implosion of Webtoons, a huge pullback from what they're willing to pay out to creators for those sort of created for Webtoon stuff. And I will just say, and I've said it before, please hire a lawyer before you click and the digitally sign that little 2-page or 2-section contract that Webtoons puts before you. There is a reason that Brad and I are not on Webtoons, and it's because we hired a lawyer. And so you might be like, well, there's nothing on there, Dave. You can't. I still own and control my own work. And to that, I would just say hire a lawyer and have them review that contract. I am not a lawyer, so I will not tell you what to do, but I'm just saying hire a lawyer. I am not on Webtoons for a reason. Please have somebody review that contract before you click yes. So that is that. All right, Brad. So I think it's my next prediction coming up here. So I'm going to talk about Funko Pop, Brad, which has been a cultural, let's just say it, a juggernaut for the last decade in terms of what it's done for turning plastic into dollars. All right. So my prediction for 2026 is if Funko Pop indeed goes bankrupt, and that's still a big if on whether or not they're how badly they're in pain right now and how badly it's going to get. But if they go bankrupt, there might be San Diego Comic-Con space available for the first time in years in 2026. So keep your ear to Funko Pop's bankruptcy filings, because if they go bankrupt, that's like 80 by 40 linear feet or some ridiculous length. They have
They had a huge footprint.
Yeah, they have one gigantic booth. Everybody knows it in the corner of San Diego Comic-Con. And I think they also have a satellite booth somewhere else. But anyway, it's like 80 feet by 40 feet. There's so many subdivisions of booths that you could be had out of that. So I'm just saying, if they go bankrupt, gang, in 2026, you want to be emailing San Diego Comic-Con within 2 hours of that bankruptcy filing and saying, hey, put me on the list. I'm happy to take any booth that frees up. Because much like parking in New York, booths at San Diego Comic-Con are like a game of hot potato where everybody sat down 30 years ago and no one's getting up. So when booths do come available, I just want to make you aware of it. And Funko Pop going bankrupt in 2026, which is not a given, but if they go bankrupt in 2026, it might be the first time in years that Comic-Con booths are available. That's my prediction, Brad.
I'm putting you on the spot, and there's no way you should know this, but it's also one of those things that I think that you might know just off the top of your head. Does Comic-Con have an active waiting list right now? And if so, would it be even a better idea to, like, right now put your name in?
I mean, you should apply for a booth, yes.
Yeah.
But I will tell you the Dave Kellett strategy for life, which is sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And there were 2 years, and Brad knows what years I'm talking about, that I specifically both needed a booth and then a second time where I needed to move booths. And boy, did Comic-Con hear from me a lot. A lot of emails and calls from Dave Kellett that year. Hey, gang, just checking in. Did anybody die or quit for San Diego Comic-Con this year? Nope. All right, I'll see you next Monday. And every week, Dave Kellett on Monday would call and email San Diego Comic-Con. Hey, anybody die or quit a booth this week? Nope. All right, well, I'll talk to you next week. Yeah. It is sometimes in life, there are things that if you really want it to happen, you just got to have follow up, and you got to put a human face to it and be like, hey, gang, Dave Kellett again, just emailing to see if anybody died or if anybody gave up a booth. All right. Well, and sure enough, it took me about, I'm just going to mentally walk back. It took me about 7 or 8 weeks of emailing every week, but eventually Comic-Con did say, well, by God, someone did quit this week. Would you like this booth? And it was in a perfect location. Brad knows the booth that I have. Yep. And I was like, not only will I take that booth, I'll be wiring you the money within 5 minutes of being off this call. Yeah. And so that's my strategy, Brad, for Comic-Con is that you've got to make yourself known, and you've got to be friendly about it. Don't be annoying, but be friendly about it, and I usually space them out about a week following up, because you got to give them time to let things happen. So that was my strategy, Brad.
I think that's a great strategy. And obviously it worked. So I'm going to follow that up with my next prediction for 2026. This is a little bit of a gimme, but it'll be fun to watch it happen. Patreon will continue to add community and discovery tools in addition to what they've already got, like collections, shops, free posts, better feeds, nudging creators to treat it like a full membership hub. You're going to see them unveil Patreon quips, for better, for worse. I don't know what that's, but stranger things have happened. They could build that into its own social media hub. I'll be honest with you, they're kind of chasing Substack on that as well. They're trying to do their equivalent of Substack notes. we're going to be talking about this probably on Pro Tips when I talk about doing like a year-end audit of your comic and your business. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of things on Substack Notes because I did not get the engagement that I expect. And this is a little taste of what we're going to be talking about on Pro Tips. I've gotten to the point where if a social media platform is not delivering, I quit it entirely and focus on other things. I'm not going to go further than that, but I think it's time for all of us. And you're talking to a guy that used to do easily a dozen different social media platforms all at the same time, ran himself in circles, trying to, okay, Twitter doesn't take hashtags. Instagram demands 20 hashtags. What do I do to post on Facebook? Right. Kept it all straight. And then the algorithm would change and I'd be forced to learn the new algorithm. I think it's time for a change, especially when I saw the effects of getting rid of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram in 2025 and seeing not only nothing negative happen to my business, but a lot of positive things happen. I think it's time for all of us to start doing a little audit. And I'll just save the rest of that for Pro Tips. But I don't see a whole lot coming out of Patreon quips for the same reason I don't think anything happened with notes over on Substack. But I think they're going to try to make Patreon into this hub for all of the monetization and audience building for your comics. So they're going to start to lean in real hard on discovery, even more so than they did this past year. They're going to lean in real hard in finding you other monetization efforts. We all kind of snarked a little bit with merchandise for membership, with good reason. The math didn't work on that. But they followed that up with Patreon collections, which is a very good idea and has is almost like your own store that you can sell digital goods through. Right. Collections is fantastic. The free membership feed, we've talked about how we both came around on that. Yes. I think Patreon is going to build out all of those things and try to make themselves into your one-stop shop for all of your comics needs, whether it's audience building, monetization. I think I'm not saying that they're going to succeed at it, but I am going to say that they are going to make some real efforts towards doing that in 2026.
And this is where competition helps because Substack is eating Patreon's lunch and they know it. And they know they have to innovate. And I will just throw myself under the bus, as Brad intimated. I was one of the big naysayers towards this new free membership thing for Patreon. I in fact, longtime listeners of the show will know I actively went in and deleted free members that joined me on Patreon because I was like, I don't want this. This is not what Patreon's supposed to be. But I'm like Brad said, I'm coming around. He's coming around on the idea that maybe, and I wasn't ready for this, I'm just saying this, maybe Patreon could be a social media stream that then translates into paid patrons. And I wasn't ready for that. I didn't want to hear it, but Substack has shown me and Brad that that's a whole viable way to run a business. And in fact, maybe it's a better way, ? I don't know. Yeah. So my heart is more open, Brad, than it used to be.
I love it, Dave Kellett, with an open heart.
Yes.
And just to put a button on this one and to bolster what you just got done saying, if you look in the Comic Lab archive, there is one of the episodes titled "We Hate Patreon's Free Membership Tier."
Yes.
That was the title of the episode because we hated it so much. And we both come around on that, So who knows? Quips could be a thing. You never know. Yeah. They could pull it off. You're talking about two guys that did a complete 180 on that.
Well, and because, and again, throwing ourselves under the bus, there are times where we're wrong. And the best thing to do is to admit it to you all so that you know that we're actively working through why we were wrong and how to fix it. And partially, this is me saying in 2026, maybe I need to lean in on Patreon as a social media feed, or at least partially as a social media feed, in the same way that Brad has already nudged me lovingly towards using Patreon's newsletters in a way that I was kind of against before, right, Brad? You would say I was against it.
Yeah, we had a long conversation about that.
Long conversation. And so anyway, look for the pro tips coming up soon that we're going to do a deep dive on Brad's rule for social media in 2026 called 221. And Patreon subscribers are going to really love that. It's a great new way to look at social media in 2026. But I'm going to jump in, Brad, to my final prediction. And this one goes over to France, which we rarely talk about in terms of the French comics market.
Let's talk about France. I know what you're going to talk about.
You know what I'm going to talk about? So I want to talk about Angoulême, which is arguably one of the most, when it's done right, the aspects of Angoulême. It is a beautiful comics festival where art a little bit comes before commerce, unlike San Diego Comic-Con, which hits you in the face.
Commerce, yeah.
Comic-Con hits you in the face like a Denny's menu. You know what I mean? It's all like visuals and prices. Angoulême is more art for art's sake. It's very French in the sense that bande dessinée and comics are celebrated for their being the ninth art. And so anyway, I want to specifically talk about Angoulême. And for those not familiar with it, Angoulême as a show is owned and run by kind of horrible people. And so this past year, French artists, French publishers, French sponsorship money, French government money has kind of spoken and said, we are not going to do this show anymore until you get entirely new leadership in. And so the show got canceled for 2026, right?
That's
and
amazing.
so my prediction going forward is that either an entirely new and different Angoulême will launch next year, or, Brad, it will never happen again. Because for whatever reason, this owner and operator seems to be intransigent and seems to be dug in on the heels on like, no, it's either me or nothing. So I genuinely don't know what's going to happen, but I think the Angoulême that we've all known and that I loved, at least for the two shows that I went to, is kind of no more, right? It's either going to be an entirely new ownership, which I think would be great for the French comics market, or it's going to end, and that will be kind of a cultural loss for France and for comics writ large. So I don't know where it's going to land out, but I know that it ain't the same thing. That's my prediction.
What do you get? Give me some odds on the possibility of a neighboring city seeing an amazing opportunity and trying to launch their own comics festival shotgun for 2026 to fill that void. Even if it's small, they've got their foot in the door. Give me odds on that happening in 2026.
Oh boy. Well, you know, and I know, it is tough just from talking to Jim DeMonakis. Tough to like start a comic show. Like you can't, like Jim ran a beautiful Emerald City Comic Con when he ran it. And we are still thankful to him for those years. But it took a lot of work and probably put more than a few gray hairs on his head trying to get that show together, you know? So my thinking, Brad, is that the city fathers and mothers of Angoulême are going to go, we're leaving tens of millions of euros on the table. Why don't we hook up with the French government nationally in terms of sponsorship and 4 or 5 of the big publishers, you know, there's 5 or 6 big publishing houses in France, and just put on our own show and call it the blankety blank show. And basically it comes down to the legal standing of like what you can call it. You know what I mean? Like you won't, I don't know that you'll be able to have anything like what it was called. You'll have to create a whole new set of awards. They have that cute little colorful award that they give out every year. But for everybody involved, it could be the quote unquote same show, if you know what I mean, wink, but under a different name, different award system, different jury system for the awards, different application process for booths and stuff. But it's the same physical show when you get there. It's just all the underpinnings are different. You know what I mean? Kind
of like the real Ghostbusters. Remember that?
Yes, the real Ghostbusters. Hot damn, I forgot about that. Yes.
Wasn't that great? That was it. Yeah. God. So we could have the real Angoulême.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you would call it, and I don't know what French copyright law is or trademark law is in terms of how closely you could get to that name. Yeah. But surely you could just do a switcheroo in terms of names, switcheroo in terms of awards, and have a whole new show within 18 months, you know?
It's the city's name. The good thing about that is you could just kind of switch things up and say, you know,
you're right.
The Comics Festival of Angoulême instead of the Angoulême Comics Art Festival, or, you know, something. Throw Angoulême in. Everybody's going to call it Angoulême for short, like we've done for years.
Yes.
And they just, you know, keep rolling along in the most French way possible. Well, I'm going to bring things to a crashing halt here, I think, with my last prediction. And again, spoiler alert, I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying I'm happy. But I am saying it's going to happen, and you're going to see a lot more public embrace of artificial intelligence in 2026. You're going to see a whole lot more people saying that they use it, how they use it. It's going to be a little bit destigmatized. Also, I think you're going to see the artificial intelligence people start to do that whole push towards a subscription model. They're going to try to force you towards a subscription more and more. Already, Adobe, I don't know if you've noticed this in their generative AI bar that pops up when you're working in Photoshop.
Right.
Now, if you use any of their generative AI stuff, you use credits from your Adobe account. Do you know about this?
No, I haven't used
their
it since it came out.
generative AI tool to do something takes a credit. And as an Adobe subscriber, you have so many credits. Well, you see where that's going.
Yeah,
you can see that walking up Broad Street. So they're going to start to hunker down on monetization more. That's going to have a double-edged effect. On one hand, it's going to have a lot of people who are just doing it because it's a fun, silly thing to do. As soon as you have to pay for it, it's not so fun and it's not so silly. And they're going to say, screw this, I'll go do something else. And you're going to see other people just say, well, yeah, this is how I use it. Some of it will be argued that they're using it ethically. Some of them, they won't have that argument at all. Doesn't matter. My prediction, unlike NFTs, which were economically unsound, you never had any. You were putting your money into something that never had value. The economics never worked, and it was very easy to see how it was going to fade away. I think the opposite is going to happen with AI, and once the stigma starts to wear off, you're going to see more people saying that they use it for this, that, and the next, and it's going to be part of the conversation. Again, I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying you wait and see. It's going to happen in 2026.
Well, I will agree and disagree on this one. I will agree with Brad that there will be increasingly larger adoptions of AI, right?
Yeah.
Two friends agree on that. Handshake of friendship right there.
Yeah.
Where we slightly disagree is I think the stigma will remain. And so much like buying a Playboy in 1965, we will have a cultural brown bag over any use of AI. I'm being sincere about that.
Yeah.
I think there is a strong enough and heavily voiced enough opposition to AI, especially in the arts, where no one will admit to using it. It will be a brown bag over a Playboy in 1965, is that people will do it, but they will have the brown bag over it. They will I need to hide this. And so I agree with you that, but I also think that going along with are we in a recessionary year in 2026? If the AI bubble pops, because there has been hundreds of billions spent on the construction of AI server farms around the U.S. If that pops, we go from a gentle recession to a not very good recession at all. And so I'm not entirely sure that this could all just go tits up in 2026, Brad, because we've talked about it before, much like pets.com in 1999, there's definitely a business here. Nobody's figured it out yet, though. You know what I mean? So I feel like we could have a huge contraction and bubble popping and then have to basically start over again with AI. So we'll see. We'll see what 2026 has for us, Brad.
Yeah, that's you know what? I wish I could argue with you on that one, but I don't think I can. But let's focus on the things that you and I, instead of arguing, Dave, let's talk about the things that you and I agree on.
Yeah, let's do it,
Here's one thing that we agree on. Using Huion has improved our workflow in 2025, and we are super thrilled to have them aboard as a sponsor.
That's absolutely right. And they are sponsoring us right now over at comiclabshop.com. If you're on the move, you can go to comiclabshop.com. If you're on a device that has the show notes for the podcast, Brad has kindly put out 3 links with 3 amazing discounted products. The 22-inch, which Brad bought with his own money and loved so much, he got me into it. And then they've got the 13-inch, which is the 3rd generation. And I'll be honest, the reason why I personally love the 13-inch, Brad, is it's got 2 spinny knobs and 5 buttons on the side.
You love a good spinny knob.
Not joking about this.
Yeah.
I legitimately love this on a drawing device because you can have one for zoom out, zoom in, and one for button brush size. And so without touching anything in terms of drop-down menus, I can adjust my brush size. I can adjust zoom in, zoom out. I can have, I love it. I love a good button, Brad. It's like I, who have always loved the remote controls, but found them too big and unwieldy for my day-to-day use, I love the buttons on the 13-inch. I think it's great.
So, I mean, I know we mentioned workflow, but that has been something that has improved your ability in terms of workflow. You're working a lot quicker. You're working a lot more accurate, and that's been a big plus for you in terms of using that tool. Correct?
Oh, absolutely. Like in terms of the tools that I have for my day-to-day workflow, and most specifically for the 13-inch, for my travel workflow, like when I'm on the move at a coffee shop or traveling or on a plane, honest to God, I have bought competitive products that are similarly sized, but this 13-inch does what I want it to do with those buttons. And also, you saw, because I bought one a couple months ago, and sold it on because it was too flimsy. Like the 13-inch can take a shot. Like that sucker is well built. Anyway, so there are 3 products right now from Huion over at comiclabshop.com, or the links are in the show note. The 22-inch, with Brad and I both love, the 13-inch, with I particularly love for the buttons, and the Huion Note, which is fantastic for note-taking and sketching on the go, and you can capture it digitally. We love all 3, and we are huge fans of Huion, so jump over right now on those links, my friends.
Absolutely. So, Dave, what do you say? We're into the first hour. You want to go through your goals?
Hey, gang, if you're listening while you work, take a minute to stand and stretch.
And while you're doing that, we'll tell you why you should join us on Patreon.
Yeah, because when you do, you'll get hours and hours of podcasts that we've recorded just for backers.
And exclusive Patreon posts that go even deeper on Comic Lab topics.
And you'll get access to our exclusive Discord server, a thriving community of professional cartoonists.
So you can support the show you love and get tons of actionable resources for your own cartooning.
And ho Nelly, if you want even more comics goodness in your life, check out the new drawing show that we're doing with our pal Kevin McShane over at wrongwayshow.com. That's wrongwayshow.com.
In each episode, we'll show you how to draw your favorite cartoon characters the wrong way.
Now, everybody, let's talk comics. Yeah, indeed, Brad. We're going into hour 2. We got people running up with little cups of water, Brad.
Yeah. My gosh. They want to hear the goals. They want to hear the Dave Kellett goals for 2026.
So now we're going to switch from predictions from 2026 to my goals for 2026 and Brad's goals for 2026. Yeah. And I'll start off with number 1. Brad, my big goal for 2026 is kickstarting one new book. It's going to be called Double Dog Dare. It's a collection of all my dog comic strips. And it is thematically and visually linked to my Pugs Unleashed book, if you remember that book from a few years back.
Gorgeous.
Which, honest to God, still sells like hotcakes at Comic-Con, and people still love it. And so this is sort of the 1-2 book that'll sell with that one.
Yeah.
And along with my Anatomy of Dogs book, I'll now have a trio of dogs books that I can sell as a bundle. So that is my first goal for 2026, Brad, is to kickstart that book.
Wow, that sounds exciting. And that sounds like a real smart move too, by the way. I think that's going to be a winner. It was interesting for me to hear your prediction at the top of the show, because actually you and I have a little bit of, maybe I'm being Pollyanna. I don't know. I'll tell you what my first goal is last year, my goal was to survive. This year, I'm shifting from survive to thrive. In other words,
Susan McTaggart's going to be so proud of you, Brad.
She is. She
is going to love this for you, that you're thriving in 2026. Oh my gosh.
I really have a lot of great things planned for 2026. And where 2025, I waited almost the entire year to do my Kickstarter because I was so terrified of tariffs. Right. And by the way, I don't apologize for that at all. I think if you put me into that situation again, I probably would have made the same decisions. But I'm all the way to the end of the year, and before I did this Kickstarter, I wished I would have started a little earlier, but I don't know that I would have made different decisions. 2026, I'm a lot more confident going in than I was going into 2025. I've got a lot of concepts for how I'm going to do comics, how I'm going to do my business. It's going to be actually my second goal, but I really do have much more optimism than I did going into 2025.
I love that you're transitioning from surviving to thriving. And Brad, I actually, while you were talking, you don't know this, I actually texted Susan McTaggart.
What did she say?
I have her on the line right now. She wanted to call in. She was so proud of you.
I'd love to hear from her. Go ahead. Hey, Susan.
Bradley, oh my goodness, Susan McTaggart here, author of the new book, Driving Towards Success, the Susan McTaggart story. That's right, my autobiography, dropping next week from Penguin Random House Publishers. Bradley, David just texted me and said you're transitioning from surviving to thriving.
I am. The rumors are true.
Well, Bradley, I just want us to give you a high five as you dive in towards surviving and thriving in 2026. Brad, I want you to know I've got a case of the hives for this drive that you've got to survive and thrive, Bradley. Oh, Bradley, you're giving me such a vibe. I love it. Bradley, I've been Susan McTaggart, and I'll be dropping next week from Penguin Random House Publishers.
Susan McTaggart, once again, floating in on an aura of sandalwood and hope. And thank goodness that she signed with Penguin Random House and not Harlequin. We might have heard a very different Susan McTaggart this year.
We might have, you're right.
Yeah.
And Brad, I got to tell you, I did not do my albuterol before Susan called in, so I'm a little lightheaded now.
Do you need me to do my next goal and mark time for a little bit? Well, then here's my next goal. It goes right into it. And then I'll let you do two after this. My next goal is very simple. I want this to be a 2 Kickstarter year. And by the way, I think that's been my goal for the last 4 years counting, but I am serious about it this time. I've got an actionable path for a Q1 Kickstarter. It's going to be the first thing I focus on once I'm done fulfilling the present Kickstarter.
Really? Q1?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to have this thing.
I don't know that we talked about this previous to this.
What's that?
Have you mentioned this to me before?
No, but my goal is to have it, because here's the thing. If I say it's a Q1, that puts kind of a deadline on it.
Q3. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So if I say Q1, it might be Q2, but I can hold my feet to the fire a lot more on that. So I'm saying Q1, like when January comes around and things are slow anyway, it'll be time to start working on that. And not for nothing, this might be the year that I finally see a way forward for having the second edition of the Webcomics Handbook, which again has been a goal in the past.
Oh,
but I actually have kind of a plan for it this year. And so that's something that is a goal, may happen, may not, but it is definitely a goal for 2026.
I celebrate that. You will have done 2 Kickstarters in a 12-month period. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm aiming for.
Between you, me, and the wall, that's sort of my ideal goal, is 2 Kickstarters every 12 months. So it doesn't matter what the 12 months are. But yeah, that's great, Brad. Good on you. That's really good. I will jump off of your goal and talk about one that I have for 2026, because for private reasons, I either need to kickstart a second book by the end of 2026, or I won't be able to kickstart another book until the end of 2027. Like if I don't do it, do you know what I mean? Like I have a window of opportunity.
It's a timing thing.
Basically, I need to get a second book out in 2026, or I'll have to wait a full year. So it's not the end of the world if I can't do it. I'll just need to fill that space with quick starters or something smaller, or maybe, some other product that's small, like pins or something like that. But this hasn't happened in a while, where I have basically a window of opportunity for 2026. And if it doesn't happen, then I got to go all the way to the end of 2027. So we'll see if I can do that goal. I'm actually not feeling confident about that, Brad. But maybe, other things have happened that were harder in my career. So maybe I can pull this out of 2 books. And I used to crank out books. You remember the first decade of my career, I consistently did 2 books a year. Yeah. But granted, they were black and white, and they were thinner books. And now I do color, and I do much thicker books. So I don't know. We'll see if I'm able to do it, Brad, but that's my goal for this year.
I have nothing but confidence in you. I think we're definitely going to see that book happen. Here's my third goal of 2026, and it has to do with the Spice Rack Comics web ring. As you know, I was really intent on making web rings happen in 2025. I don't know that I was super successful at it. I don't know if anyone else doing a web ring in comics, quite frankly, was not the breakout explosion I'd hoped for. But It showed serious signs of life. It did have a definite heartbeat on my last Kickstarter.
Good.
As I'm tracking my links now with Shortio, I was just in the promo box this past couple of weeks in Spice Rack, and I was able to track for the first time not only the amount of traffic that it was sending, but which of the sites is sending me the most traffic. In other words, like I could see, okay, my audience and this other person's audience there might be more of a Venn diagram there than I thought. Maybe that's worth talking about them, about more cross promotion. It was a good thing. I think I'm going to double down on that and see if I can make that grow in 2026. The one thing I was not able to do on Spice Rack, we had what I thought was kind of an incredible opportunity when the Itch.io crackdown due to MasterCard's regulations. They cracked down on their NSFW. And I thought that Spice Rack kind of had an opportunity to put themselves in the center of that community, which we've talked about in the past, I think needs a lot of mentorship. And it could stand, some people putting themselves in the middle saying, here's some good information. Here's some stuff that you can put your weight behind. Mm-hmm. We ended up not doing that. And so I started another newsletter. This has definitely been the year of newsletters. I started a newsletter called Uncensored Artists, and I'm going to be putting a lot more of my community building efforts towards that. I'll still be doing a lot of the cross promotion on Spice Rack, but the community building that I was kind of hoping for, I'm going to start using that as an outreach. Again, just because I think there needs to be a place where young artists, particularly doing this kind of stuff, can get good information, have some of the conversations that they need to have about this. And if I can be part of that, that thrills me to no end.
Can I ask you a question about the web ring? And I don't know that I've ever asked it to you this way. Mentally separate out all the work and administrative and legal stuff that you had to do before launching the web ring, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say it exists right now and it snapped into existence. Mm-hmm. Is it a net benefit to your business, or is it not a net benefit? Like just existing, not separated out from the work involved to it being created.
It's a net benefit. It's not a huge net benefit, but it's a benefit.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, yeah. I was just sort of curious how to qualify that. But Brad, that's a great goal for 2026. Yeah. So I'm going to jump into my next one, which is for those that know my science fiction strip Drive. It's a long form story that I don't know how many pages we're at now, 1,100 pages, 1,000 pages, something like that. And there's about 300 more pages to go in the story. But along with the overarching main story, I've invited wonderful writers and artists like Brad Guigar in to do Tales of the Drive, which are much like what Dark Horse Comics did with Star Wars back in the day. It's like little shorts that are not necessarily canon. They could be canon, doesn't matter really, but they're little shorts set in the Star Wars universe. I do Tales of the Drive, which are short stories set in the Drive universe. But I will say it takes an oddly large amount of time to scout the writers and the artists and to hire them, and then, God willing, to actually get them to do the work. It is so hard sometimes to lead this horse to water and then to get him to drink. You're like, I want to pay you. Will you just do the GD work? And I see why a lot of artists' careers don't take off, because you see in real time them not doing it, and you're like, well, I can tell you what your problem is. Your problem is you're not doing the work. And anyway, but the fault is on me in this case, because I need to get new Tales of the Drive going. Yeah. They haven't been appearing ultimately because I haven't been scouting and I haven't been bringing on and hiring writers and artists. So 2026, it's time for me to get to work. I need to hire more Tales of the Artists, writers and artists for those short stories. They are wonderful when they come out. I always love them. The readers love them. If you haven't yet, you should definitely go read Brad's short story that he did with Danielle Corsetto. It was wonderful. Yeah. But Brad, that's one of my goals for this year, is to get more Tales of the Drive in the works.
Yeah, I think that's a great goal, and I'll be here to read them. I love those things. For my next goal, I'm going to be really leaning in hard on curating my own work. In other words, repackaging, re-releasing, and rebranding from my archives. The one thing that I keep finding, I keep surprising myself over and over and over again, is how much GD work I've got done.
Yes.
I got a lot of freaking
thousands of
work.
thousands of comics.
Between Greystone Inn, the Evil Ink comic strip, the early Evil Ink graphic novel, when I shifted to graphic novelization, Evil Ink After Dark, single panel comics, Courting Disaster, Fables, it goes on and on and on. And again, then the writing that I've done, like for webcomics.com and the webcomics handbook, I've got a lot of damn content. I've got a lot of work.
You sure do, yeah.
And I don't think that I'm I don't think I'm getting as much out of it as I should. In fact, I've got written down here, if I ever hire an assistant again, which I don't think I'm going to do just yet. But if I ever were to get to the point where I'm hiring an assistant, that would be their full-time job or their full-time task.
Yes,
would be to put out a new ebook or e-comic collection, rebranded, repackaged, maybe like every 2 weeks, and put it up on Amazon. Of course, is out there, but not for nothing. I get my best bang for my buck at drivethroughcomics.com. And just and work that model over and over and over again. I got so much stuff that I'm not using because it's not packaged for today's readers. You know, you could look through the Greystone Inn collection, but man, that stuff was all scanned when we assumed an 800 by 600 computer monitor.
Yeah.
Not for nothing. Every time I try to pull that Greystone Inn stuff up, you know, to share something fun, it's got like 3 pixels across, 2 pixels deep, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. But it's all there's good stuff in there. There's stuff that's worth presenting again. And so one of my goals is to spend a little bit more time repackaging, re-releasing, and rebranding from my archives to take advantage of some people that are just finding out about me now, don't know anything about Greystone Inn, don't know Courting Disaster or any of that stuff. I think I'm missing a huge opportunity there. And so curation is going to be a big goal of 2026.
Boy, do I co-sign that for you and for me. I think that's just remember, everybody, that one of the long-standing tenets we have had on this show is you draw something once and you get paid for it multiple ways. And as Brad's constant paper flipping will tell you, that's exactly.
I'm going up to my next goal. I'm trying to be prepared over here.
This is what it sounds like on my end. I'm like, okay, no big deal. I'm just trying to make a point over here, Captain Paper Flipper. Anyway, but yes, I co-sign that with Brad, that we do need to be curating and resharing. We have thousands of comics, and people don't seek that out. You have to put it in front of them.
Right.
And so I 100% co-sign that. So my next goal for this year, Brad, goes back to a little sci-fi song that Brad sung me one time that said, "Do you want to be in sci-fi? Do you want to see some stars?" And Brad Geiger once wrote me a song about I should be in sci-fi. And the truth is, I think finally now, as Drive is reaching the final denouement of the story, that I kind of do want to be in sci-fi. I will just admit, this is a human egotistical moment. I wish that Drive got nominated for Hugos. It doesn't.
Right.
No one cares about it in the sci-fi world because I think it's not with a publisher. It's not in front of the average sci-fi reader. They don't know it. So it's obviously not going to get a Hugo nomination. Also, another possibility, Brad, maybe it's not worthy of a Hugo, but I would like to think that it is.
Not this particular audience what they're looking for. That happens.
Here is my goal for 2026, though, is that Worldcon, which is the big sci-fi con, it's the Comic-Con equivalent in the world of sci-fi. In fact, it's the oldest continuously running show in the world, I think. They started it when when not Aldous Huxley, who am I thinking of? I'm blanking on the sci-fi writer. But anyway, it started like 130 years ago. No joke. It's a really old sci-fi convention, but it's coming to Los Angeles in 2026. So Brad, guess who's going to be there with bells on? Dave Kellett, work in the room. Young Dave Kellett, smiling, work in the room. And I'm going to see if I can make any progress into a world that I have thus far completely failed to penetrate. The fandom and the structures around professional sci-fi. I've done well, penetrating the world of comics. People in comics at least know me. They know who I am. Sci-fi, I don't think knows who I am because it's probably my failing. So this year, I'm going to make an honest-to-God effort, and I will put it out there. If you are a Worldcon voter, maybe nominate Drive. maybe help your old pal out there. He really would like a win.
If for no other reason that we get to hear Dave talk about penetration more, I think that this is something that's Mike. I just added a new goal.
You crossed off one of the goals for 2025.
I got a new goal on my paper over here. Is to hear Dave talk about penetration more. Oh my goodness. So I've got a trackable goal. Do you want to share that?
Okay. Penetration is also trackable, just so you know.
What's that? Well, depends on how you do it. But here's my goal. And because we've got a lot of goals like, hey, I'm gonna put out more repackaged stuff, and that sounds great, and that is a goal. But it's hard for the 2027 show to talk about did I do it or not.
Right.
Here's some firm goals I've set for myself.
Okay.
I want a 20% email list growth on the Evil Ink Substack and for the free membership tier on Patreon. I want 20% growth on both of those by the end of the year. That's my goal. And I'm just saying it now so that we have it for the next show. Currently, the Evil Ink Substack is at 1,191 subscribers. The free membership tier on Patreon is at 904. My strategy for hitting this goal is to focus on onboarding, big time onboarding. In other words, not just assume when somebody signs up that they're a big Brad Geiger fan, but to give them the tools that they need. If they were just curious about what they were reading, to give them the tools they need, like an Evil Ink storyline guide, free gifts at sign up and stuff like that. Then to follow that up with weekly email newsletters. That's my goal, that are content heavy, but include funneling features that we've been talking about all through the year. Gift newsletters. In other words, get all 25 Christmas countdown cartoons in a free PDF as part of a special Christmas Day edition. In other words, give people gifts for signing up to the newsletter. If you sign up on Christmas Day, I'll send out this newsletter that is this thing that, again, repackaged stuff. I'm not doing new things for any of this. It's all repackaged. That whole Halloween countdown that I did, all repackaged single panel Halloween comics. The Christmas countdown repackaged. That's my goal for 2026, is to get a 20% email newsletter growth.
First of all, I love that you were putting a number on it, because I haven't done that. And I'm now actually actively thinking about that for my year. The second one, and this is just a little thing that I do, depending on what calendar system you use, Google Calendar or iCal on Macs, I would suggest to everyone listening, write down your social media numbers on iCal as a recurring January 1st thing. And then every year you can add to it. So you can track on iCal. It's just a simple way to track it. And you'll always remember it. Put it a little reminder on the thing, and just have it repeat every year on January 1st with updated numbers. And you can see year to year how your social media numbers are doing and whether they're working for you. So Brad, that's a great goal for this year. I will get us to my final goal for 2026. And this is a nebulous creative goal. But because, Brad, it's weighing on my heart, I just want to speak its name. It's like saying Sauron's name out loud. You kind of don't want to do it, but sometimes you got to do it. So my last goal for 2026 is to successfully navigate the beginning of the end of Drive. So the story is at a point where it's beginning its climax. And so the end is nigh. And so storylines, and there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of Chekhov's guns that have been laid on tables. Storylines are starting to come together. They're starting to merge, and some characters are exiting the stage. And Brad, you know this from past conversations. I am terrified of landing this plane. So one of my big overriding goals for the next few years, starting in 2026, is to land that plane. I'm not asking for help from Brad or for anybody else when I say this. I'm just saying it out loud so that I can track it for myself, to myself, by myself. I'm saying that the primary creative concern on my heart for 2026 and probably for the next 3 to 5 years is land the plane of Drive, pay attention, work ahead, write well in advance so that time can be my editor. Don't wing it like maybe I have done in some past years where deadlines came a little quicker than I thought. I've got to work ahead. I've got to think through because I can't course correct if I make a mistake, if you know what I mean, in my storytelling. I'm running out of runway. I've literally got to nail it. And so I have to work ahead. I have to work smarter. I have to pay more attention to the details. I have to, frankly, keep rereading my own story so that things don't go unaddressed and Chekhov's guns that I have laid on the table have to be fired or dealt with in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. And so it's a lot more work is what I'm saying. And so creatively, it's weighing on my heart. And so my big goal for 2026 is to pay attention, work smart, work ahead, and land that plane, Brad.
Oh, God. It's a daunting goal, but I know you're up to the challenge. I wouldn't trade places for you for nothing because it's a scary place to be. This thing that you built over years and years.
16 years now.
Yes. And you want to give it a good ending. You know, you don't. Yeah. There are so many amazing properties that are defined by a bad ending.
Think of Game of Thrones, literally one of the most enjoyable things you've ever watched until you get to that final season and you're like, what is this nonsense? None of this makes sense. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think that will happen, but I've just put in so much time, blood, sweat, and tears into Drive, and I love the story. It's come out beautiful. It's a great story, but I just want to land the plane. So that's my big goal for 2026.
So here's my final goal for 2026, and it's going to lead into the next pro tips that we record. I don't know when this is going up, but look for it. It will be talking about Brad Geiger's 2-2-1 rule. But here's one thing I'm going to try to get into the habit of doing. It goes along with my habit of trying to get my monthly profit loss statements done, which I always make it about until June until I fall off of that one.
I'm laughing because I'm the same. I'm the same. I'm laughing.
I think it's the same goal every year. And I think I made it as far as June this year, if I was lucky.
It's like Dave Kellett with his dieting. I get to about June and then it all falls apart. Yeah.
But this is a new one that I'm going to try to do as well as that profit loss statement. And it's this. I want to try to get in the habit of doing this every month. And that is a monthly audit of how I'm doing as a cartoonist, as a small business person, as a social media person, as an author, etc. How am I doing? Audit myself, basically, and say what's working, what's not, creatively speaking, what's working and what's not. Even more importantly for people like us, and this goes into the pro tips, what's working on social media and what's not. Because this is where it all started. At the end of 2024, I did a big annual audit where I just looked back over all the year and I said, what was working and what wasn't? And I came to the conclusion that Twitter and Facebook and Instagram were not working.
Nope.
And at the time, there were some real good reasons to get off of all of those platforms, in my opinion. And I did. And 2025 was a great year. And getting rid of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram not only didn't hurt me, but I'm pretty convinced that since I was able to focus on one and later two social media platforms, that would be Blue Sky and Reddit, the fact that I was able to focus in on those and really pay attention to them improved my efficacy. I had better results on the two that I remained when I cut out the ones that weren't. Yeah. And so I'm going to try to do that every month. So it's not like in December, I'm trying to remember what happened in February. I'm going to try and do it every month and say, okay, here's what's working, here's what's not. And I'm I'm going to encourage all of us to do this. I'm going to be talking very openly about, just like I have on about Twitter. Here's why I left Twitter, right? It was not delivering new audience members to me, was not delivering Kickstarter backers, was not delivering Patreon backers, no discoverability, no monetization. What am I doing there? It's time to quit. And as creators, I want us all to start talking like that more openly and more honestly, instead of this thing that we've been doing for years, Dave, which is, and I heard some guy I was on a Zoom chat, and he was talking, he goes, well, you know, I've been on Instagram, and Instagram, you always used to have 20 hashtags. And this year I read something that it's only 5 hashtags. So yeah, I'm changing that, and I'm going to go from 20 hashtags to 5 hashtags. And
I got 2 words for you, Brad. Deck chairs on the Titanic. That's what that is.
Yes. And it's like, why do we allow this to happen to ourselves, where we keep allowing these platforms to make us chase our tails? Once we get everything down and it's working, the algorithm changes, and then we got to try and learn a whole new set of rules. How about this? How about we start saying, I don't like this platform. It's not working for me. So I'm going to take all of my content down, like I did on Instagram and Twitter. Take all my content down. I'm going to take it and my audience over here now, and and then do it. And I'm being real serious about that. If you are on a platform that is not delivering for you, and I mean, you can look at the analytics and you can see that it's delivering you the things that you need to be an artist today. If it's not delivering on you, not only do you need to leave, but we artists need to start leaving loudly and say, this isn't working. I'm going to go over here now. I got news for you. I've been on Blue Sky I've been concentrating on Blue Sky for a year. I've been on Blue Sky longer than that. If 2026, if Blue Sky starts not delivering, I'm out. I'm going someplace else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm going to take my audience with me. Am I going to take all of my audience? No. It doesn't matter, because the new place I go is going to have whole new groups of people that are going to become Brad Guigar fans, and they'll become my new audience. I'm not going to be beholden to a platform that isn't delivering for me anymore. It's been 25. Well, social media has been around for what, 15 of those 25
15
years, probably.
Yeah.
16. 15 years, Dave. This story never changes, and it's the frog and the scorpion. You don't blame the scorpion for being a scorpion. You say to the frog, why'd you go out in the water in the first place, you dumb frog? I'm tired of being the dumb frog. And when I got rid of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, it was a epiphany for me. I'm like, God damn it. I went to Blue Sky and concentrated there. Not only did I do better, I didn't have all this other stuff distracting me. And I went to a platform that delivered. The minute Blue Sky steps out of line, they're gone. I'm going someplace else. That's how we got to start being as artists. We got to be loud about it.
Yep. And a lot of these platforms, because you see it with your own usage, they have made a choice to all kind of become the same thing. TikTok is YouTube Shorts, is Instagram Reels, like they all have found that to keep somebody on the platform, it's video, it's a lot of algorithmically driven video. That's not for us. And so will we be giving up an audience? Sure, great. Was that audience ever going to work for us? No. So lean in on Blue Sky, lean in on Patreon, lean in on Substack, maybe lean in on the things that are actually working for you as a working cartoonist to do the things you want to make, not where you have to bend over backwards and make videos for something else or this or that. So anyway, Brad, I think we're coming up on hour 3 of what is our longest podcast ever. Our longest podcast ever.
We had a lot to say today,
We had a lot to say, my God. We normally try to keep them in at a tight hour, but so this is, for some of you, probably a multiple listen to get through this whole show. But gosh, it was fun to talk about our predictions for 2026 and our goals for 2026.
It was. Well, I hate to say it. Do you think we could go a little bit longer? I've got one more goal.
Oh, do you? All right. Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Is it okay?
Yeah, no, of course.
I've got one goal. And this is something that I hope really for all of 2026. I want to be saying this for the next, 52 more weeks. And that's that you've been listening to Comic Lab, the show about making comics.
You rat bastard.
A living from comics.
Your host has been my friend Brad Guigar, who bait and switched me. He's the editor of webcomics.com, the creator of Evil Inc. at evilcomic.com, and he's the handsome co-host of the fantastic new drawing show over at wrongwayshow.com.
And my good close friend Dave Kellett, author of the new book, A Cartoonist's Guide to Penetration, co-director of the comics documentary.
Unsubscribe!
Co-director of the comics documentary Stripped, and the cartoonist of Sheldon at sheldoncomics.com, and Drive at drivecomic.com, and another handsome co-host, along with our good friend Kevin McShane of the drawing show wrongwayshow.com.
And a huge shout out and a thanks to our sponsor for this week's show, Huion, over at Huion, or you can go to comiclabshop.com, or even better, use the show notes that come along with the podcast in whatever app you're using, and use one of those 3 links to jump in on the last minute savings for the 22-inch, the 13-inch third generation, or the Huion Note. And don't forget to use Comic Lab as your special little discount word at checkout. And I will say the Comic Lab theme song is used with permission from Andy Creighton at theworldrecord.net. And this episode was edited by the ever wonderful, ever whimsical Matt Woodard of Woodsong Productions over at www.woodsong.media.
If you love Comic Lab, and we know that you do, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, and you may hear your review featured on a future episode. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Spotify, where we are burning up the podcast chart.
And Comic Lab is legitimately made possible by your support over at patreon.com/comiclab. So do jump in and join us for 2026. Make it your goal for 2026 is to join this fantastic community of pros, pro-ams, and amateurs, all sharing best practices, pro tips, and how-tos over at patreon.com/comiclab. So I will go ahead and say that twice. Patreon.com/thriving, not surviving. So legitimate question. This, I know we normally end with a funny stinger, but how are you going to be accountable at the end of the month when you do these reviews? Like, what are you doing? Are you making a checklist of things that you have to talk with yourself about? Like, should we do it between ourselves so that it's more accountable?
That's a good question. My idea was just to start a list in January. That was like a blue sky.
How's it going?
What's working, what's not? Right. Substack, what's working, what's not? And just not necessarily like it would be a good idea to write numbers and stuff down to follow analytics. But even more than that, just write down my impressions at the end of that month while it's all fresh in my head.
Right.
How do I feel about Reddit right now? How do I feel about Blue Sky? And, how many people are signed up to the Evil Inc. subreddit? Jot that down. Just real informal. And just kind of do a monthly accounting of how things are going. Even like my creativity. Like, how do I feel about how I'm writing right now? How is that translating into comics? And those kind of things, just to kind of see, just to have that document at the end of the year that says, this is how he was feeling about Reddit. Look at how Reddit changed. He was real hot on Reddit in January, and then by July, he couldn't stand it. What changed there?
What changed?
That's what I'm looking for. It's that kind of stuff.
I got to say, again, normally we end with humor, but this is really smart, and I'm going to think about this idea over Christmas break, because maybe I need to do this as well, and maybe our listeners need to do this. This is really this kind of level of accountability. I've never done it on a monthly basis. I normally just like, hey, January 1st, got to get going. February 1st, got to get going. That kind of thing.
January 1st, I got to get all the beginning of the month Patreon stuff.
Yeah. Get to work. Yeah.
So the only way I know that I'll do it for 12 months is if we do it together.
Right.
And we're on the phone saying, hey, it's time to do the thing. And then even though I don't want to do it, I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
I'm always in for a conversation. So maybe we do have to start a little, as much as I hate those dumb accountability things.
No,
let's call it something else. Let's call it
accountability buddies or whatever. Yeah. We'll call it check-in or I don't know. But you're right. We should do it on a weekend. We should do it when we have, or at least when Dave Kellett has coffee on like a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning.
Yes.
Because I always give myself an hour or two on weekends to just literally do nothing. Maybe that's the time we do this.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing though, if we're gonna do this over the course of the year, we're gonna need some paper, some Brad Geiger paper. Maybe we could hold it near the microphone when someone's talking. And
when we do our 2026 year-end wrap-up show, I'll have all these notes to go through.